Hi friends, when the Bhagavad Gita first crossed oceans into the Western world, it did not arrive as scripture wrapped in ritual. It arrived as an interruption, a question quietly but firmly asked. Can a philosophy born on an ancient battlefield speak to lives shaped by factories, railroads, and modern restlessness? Among the earliest minds to take this question seriously were two friends walking the woods of New England, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. They read the same verses, but what they did with them could not have been more different. By the early 19th century, the Western mind was uneasy. Religion felt narrow, science felt powerful but incomplete. There was knowledge everywhere, yet little sense of inner direction. Into this atmosphere entered the Bhagavad Gita, not as theology but as a guide to living. Within the transcendentalist circle, the Gita was approached not as sacred law but as a manual for inner freedom, for disciplined action, self mastery, and sovereignty of the mind. And it is here that Thoreau quietly stepped away from the circle. For Thoreau, the Gita was never meant to remain on a bookshelf. Insight for him was only the beginning. He wanted to know something far more demanding. Does this wisdom survive ordinary life? Does it still hold when the day is dull, the mind restless, and society pressing in? Thoreau's response was not an essay, it was an experiment. That experiment was Walden. Walden was not a romantic escape into nature, it was a disciplined act of inquiry. Thoreau simplified his life not to flee responsibility but to remove distraction. He reduced his needs so that attention could sharpen. He slowed his days so that intention could become visible. He watched his thoughts instead of being carried by them. Much like the Gita teaches mastery over desire, before mastery over action, Thoreau believed that freedom begins with self rule. Not withdrawal from society, but freedom within it. In living this way, Thoreau demonstrated something quietly radical. A person can live among institutions without being inwardly owned by them. This was the Gita, not explained, not admired, but enacted one deliberate day at a time. Emerson, meanwhile, walked a different path. He did not build a cabin, he built a language. When Emerson encountered the Gita, he recognized truths he already sensed, that authority arises from within, that the soul exceeds circumstance, that right action flows from inner alignment. Emerson did not test the Gita with lifestyle austerity. He translated its spirit into ideas the Western mind could receive. Through essays and lectures, the Gita became universal law, not Indian, not Western, but human. For Emerson, the Gita was a mirror, confirming that wisdom is not owned by any culture, only rediscovered wherever the mind turns inward honestly. So, if we draw the distinction plainly, Emerson approached the Gita as a philosopher of ideas. Thoreau approached it as a discipline of life. Emerson asked, what does this reveal about the self and reality? Thoreau asked, what happens if I live this today? One shaped understanding, the other shaped conduct. In simple terms, Emerson made the Gita intelligible to the Western mind. Thoreau made it visible in a Western life. And this distinction matters deeply today. We live in an age overflowing with information and starving for transformation. We read endlessly, we quote fluently, but we practice sparingly. Thoreau reminds us that wisdom unused remains incomplete. Emerson reminds us that wisdom unexamined hardens into belief. The Gita itself insists on both clarity of understanding and freedom in action. It does not ask us to escape the world, it asks us to stand within it without inner bondage. Emerson articulated this truth, Thoreau embodied it. That is why Thoreau deserves remembrance as one of the earliest Western practitioners of the Bhagavad Gita and Emerson as its great Western interpreter. Thank you.